Compared to the 80s, 90s, do you think there is more or less ambition these days? Why? I was a kid in the 80s and came of age in the 90s. It seemed like in the 80s everyone was ambitious to an extreme degree. The yuppie lifestyle was the default and everyone was working all the time. This is the decade they coined the term workaholic. In the 90s, the opposite was true. If we had any ambitions, it was to get high and watch cartoons. We barely worked and didn't care. Being poor was the default. They called us the slacker generation. Today, I see the level of ambition as a mix of those two extremes. People aspire to a wealthy lifestyle, but are trying to get it without the extreme work ethic that it required in the 80s. They want a Lamborghini and they want to get high and watch cartoons. Yuzunito. The same amount of ambition with less opportunities due to an increase in monetary barriers of entry. There's still plenty of ambition today, thanks to the endless opportunities and resources available. It's all about how you choose to chase your dreams. The 80s was the golden age of capitalism in a big way. Everything accelerated at a rapid pace and lots of people had opportunities to rise farther than ever before. Economy grew strong a few years in and experienced the longest peacetime steady growth ever. Global trade accelerated and flourished. And in this rush of zeal, the seeds were laid for the dangerous economic decadence we experienced later and still live with today. It was the high before the crash, but there were a lot more tides that were a lot easier to rise on. There's less ambition now, because the odds are stacked against the general laborer much more than they used to be, and more people are realizing that they shouldn't sacrifice their physical and mental health to their jobs just so that the people running their companies can become even richer than they already are. I think the work-life balance has become more of a focus nowadays, and that's a good thing. Buying houses nowadays is close to impossible, the economy is broken, inflation is up by an insane amount, and our planet is on fire. I wonder why. More ambition, but things are tougher in general. As a Gen Z person, looking back at the history of the 80s, 90s, I feel there was more ambition back then. A lot of it was, in my opinion, mainly due to the growth of the internet. The Teacher in Space program seemed to be a big deal and helped to grow interest in STEM, a stable economy. I feel these conditions allowed people to take risks and innovate more. I feel nowadays most people are trying to stay on top of things and play safe. Amongst my generation, it feels like we're all trying to outdo each other just to afford a place to live, instead of coming together to pursue bigger goals as a group. One area that may contradict my train of thought would probably be the attitude that younger people have towards climate change. However, I view this as more of an acknowledgement of past mistakes that we are now actively addressing, rather than a deliberate pursuit towards greater goals. Today, access to information and resources is unprecedented due to technological advancements. The internet has democratized many fields, allowing individuals to pursue ambitious endeavors more easily. In the 80s, 90s, such access was limited, which could have constrained ambitions to some extent. Less for sure-eyed, white, but we, my generation, Gen X, have raised a generation of young adults that a whole lot of them feel they should be rewarded equally, no matter the amount of work, or lack thereof, that is put in or towards something. Less, because salaries are shit and cost of living is exorbitant. Edit. By yes, I meant less. Thank you for pointing out I somehow missed the more part. Depending on the parameters, humans are a lot shittier. That has exacerbated numerous issues. The cost of living has increased dramatically on both a material and ethical level. Hardly has the money to be kind these days. There's a lot of very awful stuff going on. Nevertheless, AIDS is no longer a cause for death. Everything has completely changed due to the internet. Gay marriage is accepted. Republicans are attempting to seize it, but for the time being, it remains. A growing number of people are accepting weeds. The idea that man shit was way better back in 19XX is something I suppose always think back on. And it might or might not be true. Since everything is so horrible right now, I doubt that I would press the rewind button if it weren't for the fact that we are raising the dead. It is within our power to use what we possess for good rather than evil. All we need to do is put it into practice rather than merely talking about it. Less, much less. People used to strive to start a business of their own. The primary reasons are governmental barriers to entry due to regulation and inflation, which becomes institutionalized. Less ambition these days, and I think technology is a big factor. So many people don't even have hobbies and would rather just doom scroll through their phones. Also, a lot of younger people don't even know how to cook. They just mindlessly pay $25 for a sandwich through a food delivery app. Less. Digital warfare is already happening and it's only going to become more prevalent. What steps can we take to protect ourselves and our information from cyberattacks? More. People are more likely to be able to pursue their own happiness. They are less likely to be defined by their work or their possessions. There is more ambition if you really want something, which is usually when you are a teen or young adult. Ambition sometimes dulls with age. I think ambition levels are generally up when comparing people of the same age and economic level. I think a lot of the apathy people talk about is actually a natural result of reaching middle age. It was happening 30-40 years ago too, but we were kids and didn't notice it the same way. Young people are still dreaming big. Their dreams aren't the same as ours were, just as ours weren't the same as previous generations.